なる父の名により汝ら二人を夫婦であるとみなす。恵み深き神の祝福が汝らの行く道にとこしえにあらんか。
この後、アルケイディアが陸空双方からの同時攻撃を開始すれば、ナブディスが落ちた。
何？
父はわかりません、ラスラ様。ナブディスが落ちたとなると、アルケイディア軍のダルマスカ侵攻を妨げるものは何もありません。奴らが国境に達するのは時間の問題です。
ナルビナンには
私が行こう。ご一緒させてください。
ガルテアの加護をそなたらに。
ありがたき幸せ。
撤退しますぞ。
まだだ。まだ魔法障壁がある。
見えない揺らぎなき光。
魔法障壁が
ここまでか。
父の敵を、父の敵を。
ラスラ様。
汝の肉体は大いなる父の祝福を受け大地へ降り汝の魂は母なる女神のもと安らぎの時を迎えファー
Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm Adam Wolf from Gamers Platform, and in this video, as promised, I bring you the performance of Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age, and we're going to be taking a look at the performance of the different presets, as I had mentioned earlier. Now, going through most of the... I think I basically just played, what was it, the first... roughly first half hour of the game, give or take. What the footage you're seeing throughout the video mostly is going to be cutscenes because it's really hard to land the gameplay to sync up properly. But I think you know, since we're using in-game cutscenes, it should be just as good because it's using the engine to generate the graphics and the frame rate and all this other stuff. So using cutscenes mostly is not going to hurt the results because well, as you can see, it's pretty similar down the line. So we're going to take a look first at... first things first, just to remind you guys, I am using my setup is an R7 1700, Ryzen 7, I should say, 1700 CPU at the base clock of 3.1 gigahertz, and the EVGA GTX 1060 6GB SSC with 16 gigabytes of 2400 megahertz RAM. And I think I may have actually gotten that wrong quite a few times in the past. I actually thought I had 2133 megahertz RAM. That is a lie. I'm actually at 2400, so that is my bad. So that's the setup we're going to be using. So if you have a similar setup like I do with these components, definitely you know, notice that you could play this game too. And so we're going to be taking a look at the numbers first and foremost because it's the easiest to crack down on, and across the board, low, medium, or high preset, it does not even matter. You know, and this is a little bit puzzling to me because I'm not sure if this is actually, there's like almost no performance hit, or if the game is not recognizing that, or my frame rate counter is not recognized as, you know, legitimate by the software or something like that. That's happened before in I can't remember what other game it was. Destiny 2. Perfect example. Did not allow you to use third-party softwares, and during the beta, even their internal frame rate counter was wrong. So we could be seeing another situation here like that. I'm not entirely sure, but as you can see across the board, it stays below 60, but only by a few milliseconds. We're talking milliseconds here, but it's basically 60 frames a second, 59.94, and it didn't seem to matter what preset I used. You know, it just stayed steady across the board. Now, I will say this, during my time playing the game, I had noticed that there were little bits and pieces of the game that you could see visual stuttering, and it only intensified as you went up each preset. So, I'm not sure if that has something to do with frame time, or frame pacing, I should say. All I know is that I did notice some stuttering, but I'm not sure what caused it. And again, it didn't seem to matter if it was on low, medium, or high. It happened, you know, ever so often. And even though it was a pretty smooth 60 frames a second, that would happen every once in a while where the frame pacing would kind of just like hitch a little bit, you know, stutter a little bit. Not really hitch, but stutter, and it's very noticeable. Even more noticeable up at the higher graphic preset but it wasn't so intrusive that it took away from the gameplay for sure. I think that the gameplay was pretty solid all around. Definitely didn't change much from the lowest to the highest. So if you have a similar PC setup like I do, then of course, by all means, give this game a try if you have the money, obviously. I don't know if it's still going, but they said I think the first 2 weeks it's going to be 20% off, so it's $40 instead of $60. So I would take advantage of that because this game's totally worth it. And if you wanted to get it on console, of course, that is I think it's $50. So you'll be saving even, still compared to the console version, and you get higher frame rates and higher resolutions. I have tested this at 4K, by the way. Right now this is running at 1080p. I have tried it at 4K, and it is possible. There's a few tweaks that have to be made, but the game honestly doesn't look any different at 4K from 1080p. I know that's a bit weird to say, but I mean, that's kind of actually a good transition into our next point. If you take a look, and feel free to pause the video to check for yourselves, and I'm waiting on Digital Foundry to maybe cover this. They may not. They probably don't have this on their radar. But I gotta say, looking at, and I've paused the video and I've looked at all 3 presets. I've tried to find the smallest detail, to differentiate the 3 presets, but I can't seem to find anything. Whether you're playing on low or whether you're playing on high, you're getting the exact same image quality. And if the differences are there, they're very, very slight. So slight that it's really hard to see them. Even just pausing the video and analyzing each and every single segment, it's really hard. So I don't know if I'm correct in saying this, but I really don't think there's much of a difference between low to high. It really isn't. The visual difference is not there. And I hope that if Digital Foundry actually does cover this, they kind of mimic that sentiment, where there's just really not much different in the game. So, if you don't have to, don't push your system to the high preset, because why bother when you're getting the same visual quality? I would suggest that that's what you do. So, I mean, overall, gameplay was very smooth. It was pretty solid. If you guys remember from my last video on this, which I ran down the graphic settings, there are a lot of options, a lot more options than some of the other recently released Final Fantasy games on PC. Final Fantasy 13, 13-2, Lightning Returns. I know I'm kind of just naming those off. Even 10 and 10-2 released on PC is capped at 30 FPS, so we don't even have the option to go higher than that. Whereas the 13 series is just a whole mess. It's an absolute mess, and it's one of the worst optimized games game series I've ever had to deal with on PC. So not great, but I'm really happy that with this release, and hopefully subsequently with the release of Final Fantasy 15 coming in March, they also bring in proper graphic settings, seeing as how they seem to really want the PC release of Final Fantasy 15 to go well. If this is any indication, I think we're going to be in good hands when that game comes around to market. But that's going to do it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope this kind of gives you an idea as to how this game runs on PC. Even with lower spec computers, this game seems pretty solid. And I hope that if you're running any hardware that's even lower than what I have, that and you're able to give this a shot, let me know in the comments below if it worked out for you really well, and if you've seen any visual differences, also let me know in the comments, because I can't find anything. And while you're leaving a comment, don't forget to check the links in the video description below, specifically the one for the Extra Life campaign. We're still trying to raise that $200 for charity, and I hope you guys can give. If you can't give, don't worry. It's a $200 goal. I know we're going to reach it at some point. But we got a whole year to do it, so don't worry if you can't donate. But if you can donate, don't hesitate to. Until next time, guys, I'm Adam Wolf. This is Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age, and I will see you guys in the next one.